Assalamualaikum, I am Dr. Sajbin from Physiology department. Today we are going to perform the practical of Power Lab. Software used will be the lab tutor. Power Lab is basically the hardware. The assembly is shown. This is the Power Lab. It is connected to the computer and the software installed is the lab tutor. In today's practical we will just have a brief intro to this lab tutor. Opening the lab tutor. Now opening the introduction to lab tutor. Lab tutor is basically a software which is designed for lab teaching and mainly for the research purposes. Learning objective of today's practical include we will get familiar with the hardware and software components of the lab tutors, and we will be able to record basic finger pulse signal in the lab tutor. Now moving to the principle of the lab tutor, we will press this button next. The first a transducer into analog voltage. Now this analog voltage, it will be analyzed, stored in the Power Lab hardware, and then this analog signal is converted into the digital signal, and then this digital signal is displayed on the computer screen. The hardware unit of the Power Lab, it has multiple parts. This is the output. These four are the inputs. This is the stimulator portion, and this is the bioamp portion for bioamplification. Now moving to next. No need to go into the details of these transducer. You just have to remember that this is the power button. These are the four inputs. These are the outputs. This is the bioamp lead, and here the bioamp lead is attached. Okay, moving to the next. Organization of the lab tutor. Okay, the basic organization of each lab tutor is same. We will just open the lab tutor as I have done in this session, and then from the list of experiment you will choose the experiment of your own choice, and each experiment, it begins with the introductory page, and then when you go for the next then the pop-up windows appear which will guide you how to proceed. Then after that exercise, some exercises are given, and after each exercise there is an analysis page. You will record the data, you will get the analysis of that data, and then this data can be used for multiple purpose. For example, it can be used for research purpose. And so now moving to the next. Basically this practical is all about the introduction to the Power Lab and lab tutor. So first record the pulse with the help of the pulse from the middle finger with the help of the pulse transducer. What you have to do for this purpose, first of all, make sure that Power Lab is connected and turned on. So our Power Lab is connected and it is turned on. Now we will place the pressure pad of the finger pulse transducer against the distal segment of the middle finger, or thumb can also be used. Now as shown in the figure, the same assembly we have done to obtain the finger pulse, and we have connected this finger pulse transducer to the input one. Okay, moving to the next. For recording the data, we have to click the start button. Okay, the trace is visible. You can adjust this scale by the auto scale button so that you can see all the recordings visible on your screen. We will record for about 20 seconds and then click the stop button. Now moving to next. Okay, scrolling. Here is the scroll ball. The significance of this scroll bar is you can view your entire recording by shifting it to left or right. You can see your entire recording. Okay, moving to the next. So there are horizontal compression buttons and vertical compression buttons. Okay, you can see when I will click on it, it will expand the, and when I click on this button, it will compress the recording, or you can say out zoom or in zoom. And these are the vertical scaling buttons. So they vertically expand or compress the trace. And with the help of the auto scale, you can adjust your whole trace on the screen. If you want to visualize the details of anything, you can change the resolution by horizontal compression buttons or vertical scaling buttons. Now moving to next. Okay, you can also write comments during the recording. It can be just done by clicking the start button, starting the recording. And let's suppose I'm saying that this is the recording of roll number 45. Now the roll number 45, it is appearing here. Now let's see, this is the recording of roll number 98. So you can add comment like this. Okay, and after obtaining the trace, just stop the recording. Okay, now moving to the next. Making measurements. How to measure? You can measure by just clicking on a point like this and drag this value, time value, into first here, and this pulse value into the pulse amplitude. Now you can take a second point, let's suppose here, and drag this second value here, and this value of pulse amplitude here. You can take a third point and drag this value here and this value in this corner. Okay, so you can make measurements. Okay, there is a marker. If you want to measure at any specific point, you can use this marker. And insert at any point, like I am inserting it on the top of this peak. Okay, now it is giving the values in delta, that is delta time and delta pulse amplitude. Okay, so do the same procedure, drag this value into the time, this value into the pulse, and then you can have recordings at the different times and you can plot the table. Okay, moving to the next. Another interesting information regarding lab tutor is that it can calculate other variables based on the raw input from the other channels, like you can from this pulse information, this lab tutor is calculating the interval between the peaks of pressure waves, and it is also calculating the heart rate. Channel 2 and channel 3. Channel 2 in the pink is showing the interval between the parts of pressure waves and peaks of pressure waves, and channel 3 is displaying the heart. Okay, moving to the next. Oh, sorry. Okay, next is about the deleting data. You can also delete a particular record, like if you want to delete something, like let's suppose I want to delete this trace, then I will select this trace and delete. I can delete it. Okay. Okay, that's all about the basic introduction to the lab tutor. Now your question answers and any queries, they will be entertained in the live session. That's all. Allah Hafiz.